Today, we're taking a look at the demo for Shinobi Art of Vengeance, the latest entry in the long-running series. We'll cover the story setup, the feel of the gameplay, how it looks and sounds, and I'll also test it on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 hardware. I want to see if there are any performance gains on the newer system, even without a dedicated Switch 2 build. And if you do enjoy reviews like this, along with deals, previews, Switch 1 versus 2 comparisons, lists, all that good stuff, do a smaller channel a favour, hit subscribe. Alright, let's get into it. So story, and you'll step into the role of Joe Musashi, Shinobi and head of the Brawler clan. It's a simple setup. An evil corporation attacks, they destroy your village, they turn your people into stone, and the reason? They're chasing global domination through an ancient artifact that's said to grant immortality. It's going to be the classic tale of revenge. Now this demo, it covers the opening chapter, exploring the village itself. It's essentially the prologue, doubling as a tutorial. So yeah, one moment you're saying goodbye to your family, moments later, it's all out war. It's exactly what I expected, and exactly what I wanted. So gameplay in this demo is all about teaching you the ropes, chaining combos, experimenting with magic, platforming through progressively tougher environments. There's even a couple of bosses thrown in, and it makes for a surprisingly generous demo. I spent about 30 minutes each on both Switch 1 and Switch 2, and by the end, I was actually shocked at how much was still left to conquer. A real nice touch I picked up on immediately here is there's a percentage complete marker for each location. It really gives you a clear sense of not only progression, but it also hints at just how many secrets these stages are actually hiding. You know, if this first area is anything to go by, there's going to be plenty to uncover. I even unlocked arcade mode, a high score chasing spin that will be on each level, and yeah, it's a very welcome bonus. Controls then feel great as well, right from the start. Combat's built around a satisfying mix of light and heavy attacks, magic abilities, and powerful specials, each of the latter two tied to its own meter. It sounds like a lot, but the tutorial layers these systems in gradually, so it never feels overwhelming. Movement feels just as sharp too. You've got quick dodge abilities for slipping through enemy strikes, the ability to double jump or cling to walls, you can climb, there's all sorts going on. It just keeps the fighting very fast, very vertical. It's just incredibly responsive. You know, chaining together attacks, dodges, and platforming, it just feels effortless, and once you get the rhythm down, you're gonna feel like a badass. I just think as well, generally, the combat flow is very clever. You know, as I said, the 2 meters tied to those magic and special abilities, but they build up in different ways. One is by landing hits, it's rewarding aggressive play. The other actually charges when you take damage. So it's not only going to support those players that may be struggling in moments, but also it kind of creates this risk versus reward dynamic to push through tougher encounters. See, I think it's balanced really nicely, giving you multiple ways to approach the different encounters. And on that note, for anyone worried about the challenge, this is far from the punishing Shinobi titles of the past, and difficulty is fully customizable thanks to a set of accessibility options. You can basically do things like dial enemy strength up or down, or tweak how much damage you take. It's really about tailoring the experience to your comfort level. What really surprised me though, from a gameplay perspective, is the focus on customization and the levels themselves. So at each save point, you'll find a store where you can purchase upgrades or unlock them from the many chests scattered around the location. Now they come in a few flavors: amulets, where you get a passive and combo slot, magic abilities, you'll eventually unlock at least 4, and even different katanas to wield. On top of that, there's a whole skill tree packed with abilities to unlock. And also then, correct me if I'm wrong here, but early Shinobi games, the ones I remember that I played, were relatively simple side-scrolling affairs. I'm talking design-wise, not difficulty. I know those classics would absolutely destroy me. But this one starts out in that kind of traditional, straightforward way, but then it changes, it evolves into something else. It's got a bit of a Metroidvania feel almost, with certain areas locked behind skills that you haven't learnt yet. And there's even alternate pathways leading to secrets tucked away in corners. I didn't expect the verticality either, but it just makes total sense for the character. And yeah, feels great to go exploring. There's another surprise as well. This level is long, 9 checkpoints in just the demo. What's more though, you can actually pause, pull up the map, and fast travel to any checkpoint. That is not typical Shinobi design, but honestly, I'm all for it. So essentially, from this demo, from a gameplay perspective, I was already excited, but this has completely sold me. A lot of people will probably be comparing this to Ninja Gaiden, especially with both games releasing just a month apart. Now, I've always actually been more of a Ninja Gaiden guy personally, but honestly, this demo has impressed me far more than the Steam demo that I played for Ninja Gaiden a few months back. Now, just to be transparent as well, at the time of recording, my Ninja Gaiden review isn't live yet, but on the Switch, the game has some strange performance quirks. I will link it below once it's out, which should be very soon. But yeah, this just, honestly, feels better. And that's really, I guess, a little hint for what's coming up later in this video. Visuals and audio then, and to be fair, it's tough to judge sound at this early stage. That said though, what's here, it clicks. Solid backing music that fits the Shinobi vibe perfectly, satisfying combat sounds, and to my surprise, even some voice acting, which was a nice touch. Visually though, it is stunning in motion. You've got these beautifully drawn environments that shift as you play. One moment you're tearing through open fields, the next you're swallowed by fog before a ruined village just rises out of it. The variety in just this chapter alone is seriously impressive, and the transitions just feel so seamless. There are clever stylistic touches too. Final blows sometimes drop frames intentionally for dramatic impact. It gives it a punchy, hand-drawn feel. Or special moves just go full comic book mode with these gorgeous, over-the-top, screen-filling animations. The game just oozes style, and it feels completely at home in the Shinobi series. I think if I had to summarize this game, it's reminiscent of what made Streets of Rage 4 so special. It keeps the heart of the series intact, but it isn't afraid to run with it and do its own thing. And yet, honestly, I think it works. I think it also makes sense as well, because for those that do not know, it's actually the same artists behind this. So performance then is where things get interesting. First off, to be clear, there's no dedicated Switch 2 build here. I simply took the Switch 1 version, installed it on the newer hardware to see what brute force improvements we'd get. Now, load times short on both systems, no worries there. Visually, there's a difference. Switch 2 outputs in 4K, which gives a noticeable boost in clarity. But as usual with upscaling, it comes with a trade-off. Aliasing is more visible. It's minor, but you'll spot it. The real game changer is the frame rate. On both Switch 1 and 2, the game targets 60 FPS, which is already a massive step up compared to Ninja Gaiden's 30 FPS cap. And when it hits that 60, this game feels glorious. But can it stay there is the question. Well, on Switch 1, it impressively holds that frame rate through a decent chunk of the demo. As you push further, however, moves get flashier, effects fill the screen, environments, they get more complex. It starts to strain. So early on, basically you're locked at 60 FPS, and when it does do minor drops, it frequently returns to it. But then you'll approach spots like the burning village. Here it dips into the low 50s. By the end of the demo, I saw fluctuations between the high 30s and low 50s. It sounds rough, but honestly, playing it, I noticed drops for sure. You see it in the responsiveness, but I never guessed they were that deep. On Switch 2, I'll keep it simple. A couple of moments in the 58 to 59 FPS range, we're talking minor stutters here, but for 99% of that experience, it is a silky smooth 60 FPS, and it feels incredible. So overall, I think this demo paints a great picture of what's to come, and it should help you decide where you want to play it. For me though, it's done everything right. You get a decent chunk of gameplay, a proper introduction to the mechanics, and it sets up the story without really giving you too much. Not that I expect a lot from it. Honestly though, like I said earlier, I was excited for this game, but I wouldn't have called it necessarily a guaranteed day one buy. After playing this demo, it absolutely is now. It impressed me from beginning to end, and I am fully on board with this new direction for Shinobi. So if you checked out the demo yet, let me know in the comments. Would love to hear everyone's opinions. And yeah, subscribe if this one helped you out. Alright, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.